The conference room feels like it's closing in on me, despite the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. My hands are trembling so badly I have to press them flat against the polished mahogany table. I can't look at Sophie, can't bear to see that sympathetic mask she's wearing while she systematically destroys everything I've worked for. As you can see from the projections, Sophie's voice carries that perfect note of professional concern. The initial strategy proposed by Paisley's team shows some concerning oversights. I've taken the liberty of highlighting the major risk factors. My throat burns as I watch 6 months of work being gutted in front of the executive team. The same work Sophie had enthusiastically supported just last week over late-night strategy sessions and shared cups of coffee. The same project she'd helped refine, offering suggestions with a warm smile and encouraging words. These market penetration estimates seem particularly optimistic, she continues, clicking to the next slide. Almost naive, really. Naive. The word hits like a slap. I force myself to breathe slowly, trying to maintain composure as I watch my career imploding in real time. Through the fog of betrayal, I notice Nathaniel nodding along, his expression grave. Of course he's convinced. Sophie's been having private meetings with him for weeks. Meetings I thought were about her own projects, not about systematically dismantling mine. I think we need to seriously reconsider the entire approach, Sophie concludes, her voice dripping with manufactured regret. I know Paisley worked hard on this, but we can't let sentiment cloud our judgment when millions are at stake. Sentiment, as if my 100-hour weeks were just some cute exercise in feeling good, as if I hadn't verified every number, researched every projection, prepared for every contingency, as if I hadn't called my mom last night, finally ready to tell her all her sacrifices were worth it because her daughter was about to break through. Paisley? Nathaniel's voice cuts through my thoughts. Would you like to respond to any of these points? I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. How do you defend against a complete betrayal? How do you counter when someone who knows every detail of your strategy uses that intimate knowledge to systematically dismantle it? I would need time to review these specific concerns, I manage, hating how weak my voice sounds. This is the first I'm seeing these particular objections. Sophie's eyes widen in perfectly feigned surprise. Oh, I thought we discussed some of these issues last week. Remember during our strategy session? The lie is so smooth, so casual. I almost doubt my own memory for a second. But no. Last week she was enthusiastic, supportive, helping me refine my presentation. Actually, I have the meeting notes here somewhere, she interrupts, making a show of shuffling through her papers. But regardless, the numbers speak for themselves. The rest of the meeting passes in a blur. I sit there, numb, as my project is effectively killed. As I'm effectively killed, professionally speaking. Sophie delivers the fatal blows with such apparent reluctance, such convincing concern for the company's well-being, that I can see everyone buying it completely. Afterward, I sit alone in the conference room, staring at my laptop screen without seeing it. The cleaning staff will probably find me here at midnight if I don't move soon. A soft knock at the door makes me jump. Rough meeting, Maggie says quietly, sliding into the chair next to me. Her eyes are full of sympathy, but there's something else there too. Something that looks like fear. Yeah, my voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. I don't understand why she would. Because the VP position is opening up next month, Maggie whispers, glancing nervously at the door. Sophie needed to eliminate the competition, and you were the biggest threat. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? There's no VP position opening up. There is. It's not public yet, but Sophie somehow found out. She's been systematically. Maggie trails off as footsteps approach outside. The door opens and Sophie appears, still wearing that mask of professional concern. Paisley, do you have a minute? I thought we should discuss next steps. Maybe look at salvaging some elements of the project? I look at her. Really look at her. For the first time since the meeting started. At her perfectly crafted expression of sympathy. At the calculated gleam in her eyes that I somehow never noticed before. At the slight upturn of her lips that, now that I know to look for it, appears less like concern and more like satisfaction. Of course, I hear myself say, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. We should definitely discuss next steps. Sophie smiles. And in that moment, I realize just how badly she's underestimated me. I don't remember driving home. One moment I'm in the office parking garage, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turn white, and the next I'm standing in my dark apartment, still in my work clothes, staring at nothing. My phone buzzes for the 20th time. More messages from Sophie, each one dripping with fake concern. Let's grab coffee tomorrow and brainstorm. We can salvage this. I really think this could be a growth opportunity for you. I hurl the phone across the room. It hits the wall with a satisfying crack, though not hard enough to break. Just like me. The microwave clock reads 8:47 p.m. when someone knocks at my door. For a terrible moment, I think it might be Sophie, coming to twist the knife with more false sympathy. But it's Maggie, holding a bottle of wine and wearing an expression that says she knows exactly how deep this betrayal goes. You look like hell, she says, pushing past me into the apartment. Thanks. I manage a weak smile as she heads straight for my kitchen, grabbing wine glasses with the familiarity of countless girls' nights. Nights where I'd sometimes gushed about how lucky I was to have Sophie as a mentor. God, I'd been so stupid. So, Maggie says, pouring generous glasses. Want to hear how deep this rabbit hole goes? My stomach clenches. Tell me. Sophie's been planning this for months. Remember when she started having all those private meetings with Nathaniel? I nod, taking a long drink. She said they were about her digital transformation project. They were about you. She was systematically undermining your credibility, dropping little hints about your inexperience and emotional decision-making, all while playing your best friend. The wine turns sour in my mouth. How do you know all this? Maggie shifts uncomfortably. Because she tried to recruit me to help her. 3 weeks ago, she invited me to lunch, started talking about how we needed to protect the company from risky strategies. When I realized she was talking about you, she takes a shaky breath. I should have warned you sooner. I couldn't believe it at first, and then I was afraid. Afraid of what? Of ending up like Diane from marketing. The name hits me like an electric shock. Diane had been on track for promotion last year before suddenly transferring to the Minneapolis office. I'd always wondered about the abrupt move. What happened to Diane? She caught Sophie taking credit for her work, tried to report it to HR. Maggie's voice drops to almost a whisper. Next thing we know, there's rumors about her having a drinking problem, missing deadlines, making scenes at client meetings. None of it was true, but Sophie made it stick. My voice sounds strange in my ears, cold and distant, just like she's doing to me now. Paisley, Maggie reaches for my hand. Maybe you should start looking for another position before things get worse. Worse? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. She just destroyed my career trajectory, made me look incompetent in front of the entire executive team, used everything I trusted her with as ammunition. I drain my wine glass. How could it get worse? She's not done, Maggie says quietly. I overheard her talking to Nathaniel after the meeting. She's pushing to have you move to account management. She's calling it a better fit for your skill set. Account management, a dead-end position where careers go to die, where I'd never have another shot at strategic leadership. No. The word comes out like steel. I'm not running. I'm not transferring. And I'm definitely not letting her get away with this. What are you going to do? I stand up, walking to where my phone lies on the floor. The screen is cracked, but it still works. I scroll through Sophie's messages, seeing them with new eyes. Every sympathetic word, every offer of help. They're not just manipulative, they're evidence. First, I say, I'm going to document everything, every interaction, every email, every meeting. Then I'm going to figure out exactly what she's hiding. Paisley, be careful. Sophie has powerful friends. So did Diane, probably. I turned to face Maggie. But Diane tried to fight alone. I won't make that mistake. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Sophie. Breakfast tomorrow? We should discuss your future with the company. I smile and it feels like baring teeth. Tell me everything you know about Sophie. Every detail, every rumor, every inconsistency. Because tomorrow morning, I'm having breakfast with a snake, and I need to know exactly where to look for the venom. Maggie hesitates, then pulls out her own phone. You might want to sit down for this. It starts with her supposed MBA from Stanford. The cafe Sophie chose is exactly her style. all gleaming surfaces and $7 lattes. I arrive 15 minutes early, settling into a corner table where I can watch the door. My hands are steady as I set up my phone to record, tucking it partially under my napkin. Legal in this state, I checked. Sophie breezes in right on time, designer handbag swinging. Paisley, I'm so glad you agreed to meet. She pulls me into a hug I don't return. I ordered us both oat milk lattes. Still your favorite, right? Of course she remembers my coffee order. Just like she remembers my mother's name, my childhood dream of becoming a writer, the fact that thunderstorms make me anxious. She collected these details like ammunition, storing them away for moments exactly like this. Thanks, I say, forcing a smile. So thoughtful of you. Always. She settles into her chair, arranging her face into perfect concern. Listen, about yesterday. I know that was hard, but I really think this could be a positive turning point for your career. How so? Well, I've been talking with Nathaniel. She leans forward conspiratorially. There might be an opening in account management. Much better work-life balance, less pressure. I think it could be perfect for you. My throat tightens. Maggie was right. That's quite a change from strategic planning. Sometimes a step sideways is really a step forward. She stirs her latte with practiced precision. Besides, we both know the executive track can be brutal. Look what happened to poor Diane. The casual mention of Diane sends ice through my veins. It's not a random example. It's a warning. Speaking of career paths, I say carefully, I was looking up your Stanford MBA thesis the other day for inspiration. Strangely, I couldn't find it in the database. The tiniest flicker crosses Sophie's face. So brief, I would have missed it if I hadn't been watching for it. Oh, you know how university systems are. Probably filed under the wrong name or something? Probably. I take a sip of my latte. When did you graduate again? 2018? 2019. She says it automatically, then frowns slightly. Last night, Maggie showed me Sophie's LinkedIn profile. It clearly states 2018. Right, 2019. Must have been right after your time at Goldman Sachs. Another microscopic tell, a tightening around her eyes. According to Maggie's research, Sophie never worked at Goldman. The dates on her resume overlap with a middle management position at a regional bank. Paisley, she cuts in smoothly. I know yesterday was disappointing, but dwelling on the past won't help. We need to focus on your future. In fact, I've already drafted the transfer request for account management. With my recommendation, it should be approved by next week. The threat is clear. Take the transfer or things will get worse. I think of Diane, driven out by carefully crafted rumors. I think of my mother, who remortgaged her house to put me through business school. You're right, I say, letting my voice shake slightly. Yesterday was overwhelming. I could use some time to process everything. Sophie's smile widens, the predator sensing victory. Of course, take the weekend to think it over. We can submit the paperwork on Monday. As she gathers her things to leave, I remember something Natalie once told me. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who thinks they've already won. I wait until Sophie's gone before pulling out my phone, stopping the recording. Then I text Natalie. Need to meet, it's about Sophie Morrison and Stanford. The response comes almost immediately. My office, 1 p.m., come alone. I stare at those 4 words, my heart pounding. Natalie has been with the company for over a decade. She knows where all the bodies are buried. If anyone can help me understand what I'm really up against, it's her. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Sophie. Thanks for being so understanding. This really is for the best. I save the message, adding it to my growing folder of evidence. Then I open my banking app and look at my savings account. The number is small, but it's everything I have. Everything my mother and I scraped together over years of sacrifice. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who thinks they've already won. I close the app and start drafting an email to HR, requesting copies of all my performance reviews. By the time I meet Natalie, I need to be ready for whatever she tells me. Because one thing is becoming crystal clear. This isn't just about saving my career anymore. This is about survival. Natalie's office feels different today. Colder, more fortress than sanctuary. She doesn't offer me a seat, just stands by her window looking out at the city below. My mentor's usual warmth is nowhere to be found. Close the door, she says without turning around. I do, my hands trembling slightly. The The click of the latch sounds final, like a cell door closing. Before we start, Natalie says, finally facing me, I need to know exactly what you plan to do with whatever I tell you. I need to stop her, I say, before she destroys my career like she did to Diane. Natalie's expression tightens. Diane was lucky. Lucky? She was forced out. She got out alive. Natalie moves to her desk, unlocks a drawer, and pulls out a thick manila folder. 3 years ago, we had an analyst named Marcus. Brilliant kid, full of potential. He noticed some irregularities in Sophie's client reports. My mouth goes dry. What happened? He tried to be clever about it, gathered evidence, built a case. Then his laptop was stolen during a break-in at his apartment. The next week, police found cocaine in his desk. He was fired, arrested, lost his license to work in finance. I swallow hard. You think Sophie planted it? I think Sophie does whatever it takes to protect herself. Natalie slides the folder across her desk, and I think you need to understand exactly what that means. Inside the folder are printouts, emails, photographs. Years of carefully documented incidents, all connecting back to Sophie. Projects mysteriously failing after she offered to help. Careers derailing after people questioned her credentials. A pattern so clear it makes me sick. Why hasn't anyone stopped her? Because she's brilliant at covering her tracks. Because she has dirt on half the executive team. Because Natalie hesitates. Because Nathaniel is sleeping with her. The revelation hits like a physical blow. But he's married, he has kids. And Sophie has pictures, videos, enough to destroy his family, his career, everything. Natalie's voice is bitter. Why do you think he supports every project she backs? My head spins as pieces click into place. The private meetings. The way Nathaniel never questioned Sophie's accusations against my work. The careful dance of power I never noticed until now. So, what am I supposed to do? Just give up? Let her win? I'm telling you this because you need to understand the stakes. Natalie leans forward. Sophie isn't just some office backstabber. She's dangerous. And if you're going to move against her, you need to be absolutely certain you can finish what you start. I have evidence, I say. The Stanford degree is fake. Her Goldman Sachs experience never happened. If I can prove, others have tried proving things. Natalie taps the folder. That's not enough. You need something she can't wiggle out of. Something that would destroy her completely. She pauses. And you need to be willing to get your hands dirty. My phone buzzes. A text from Sophie. Just confirmed your transfer paperwork is ready. So excited for your new chapter. Looking at her message, I feel something shift inside me. The last traces of the naive girl who trusted Sophie's mentorship crumble away. What about Lyle? I ask, remembering something from Maggie's intel. Her ex-partner from the consulting firm? Natalie's eyebrows rise slightly. What about him? Maggie mentioned he left suddenly, right when Sophie started here. That timing seems convenient. A slow smile spreads across Natalie's face. Now you're thinking like someone who wants to survive. She pulls out a Post-it, writes down a number. Lyle works in Boston now. If you call, don't use your regular phone. Don't leave an electronic trail. I take the number, my hand steady. Thank you, for everything. Don't thank me yet. Natalie starts returning documents to the folder. And Paisley, whatever you find, be very sure you want to live with the consequences. Walking back to my desk, I pass Sophie in the hallway. She beams at me, reaching out to squeeze my arm. Can't wait to welcome you to the account management team. I smile back, channeling every ounce of her own fake warmth. Me too. Such a blessing to have someone looking out for me. The words taste like ash in my mouth, but Sophie's answering grin tells me she bought it completely. She walks away, heels clicking on marble, while I clutch Lyle's number in my pocket. Tonight I'll buy a burner phone. Tomorrow I'll start learning exactly what Sophie is capable of. And then I'll show her what I'm capable of. The burner phone feels illicit in my hand as I pace my living room. It's taken 3 days to work up the courage to call Lyle. 3 days of watching Sophie strut around the office like she's already won. I punch in the number Natalie gave me, holding my breath. Hello? The voice is cautious, guarded. Lyle, this is about Sophie Morrison. Silence stretches for so long I think he's hung up. Then, how did you get this number? Natalie gave it to me. I'm her next target. A sharp intake of breath. Jesus, I told her this would happen eventually. Told who? Natalie, after Sophie? He stops. Look, I can't do this over the phone. Are you in Boston? I can be. Tomorrow? He names a cafe, a time. I book a flight before I can lose my nerve, using cash withdrawn in small amounts over the last few days. Sophie's taught me the value of covering tracks, at least. The next morning, I find Lyle nursing a coffee in the back corner of a shabby diner. Nothing like Sophie's sleek cafe choices. He's younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, but his eyes are old. You must be Paisley, he says as I slide into the booth. You have that same look she gives all her victims, like you're still trying to figure out how you missed the warning signs. Were there warning signs? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Only if you knew where to look. Sophie, she's brilliant at making you see what she wants you to see. What did she want you to see? A future. Partnership at our consulting firm. Marriage eventually. His hands tighten around his coffee cup. Right up until she didn't need me anymore. What happened? I found discrepancies in our client billing. Small things at first, but they added up. When I confronted her, he pulls out his phone, scrolls through photos. Here, this was my apartment afterward. The image shows a ransacked room, drawers emptied, electronics smashed, walls spray painted with a single word, liar. She did this? Can't prove it. Just like I couldn't prove she was the one who sent anonymous tips to our biggest clients about fraudulent billing practices. Tips that implicated me, specifically. His smile is bitter. By the time the dust settled, I was lucky to avoid jail time. My stomach churns. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Sophie doesn't just destroy careers, she destroys lives, and she's gotten better at it since my time. I have evidence, I start, but he cuts me off. Evidence doesn't matter. Power matters. And Sophie... He glances around before lowering his voice. Sophie has something on everyone, including things they don't even know about yet. What do you mean? He pulls out a USB drive. After everything happened, I hired a private investigator. He found, well, see for yourself. But be careful where you open this. And whatever you do, don't let Sophie know you have it. I take the drive, my heart pounding. Why help me? Why now? Because you're not the first person Natalie's sent my way, but you might be the first one smart enough to actually stop her. He stands, dropping cash on the table. One more thing. Check into Riverside Consulting. That's where she worked before Goldman Sachs. Or claimed to, anyway. Wait, I call as he reaches the door. What happened at Riverside? He turns back, and for the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. Ask about the partner who died. The one whose signature kept appearing on documents months after his supposed heart attack. I sit there long after he's gone, turning the USB drive over in my hands. My phone buzzes. Sophie, of course. Missing you in the strategy meeting, but don't worry. I'm taking good notes for the account management transition. Another message follows immediately. BTW saw you took a personal day. Hope everything's okay with your mom. She's still in Phoenix, right? My blood runs cold. I never told Sophie where my mother lives. Never mentioned Phoenix at all. The threat is clear. She's watching me, monitoring my movements. I book a return flight under a different name, paying cash again. On the ride to the airport, I think about Lyle's ransacked apartment, about Marcus and the planted cocaine, about the dead partner at Riverside. The USB drive weighs heavy in my pocket, like a loaded gun. Sophie thinks she's the only one willing to get her hands dirty. Time to show her just how wrong she is. But first, I need to call my mother. Tell her to change her locks, check her accounts, be careful. Because if Sophie's willing to destroy lives over business deals, what might she do when she realizes I'm coming for everything she has? The contents of Lyle's USB drive glow on my laptop screen at 3 a.m., making my hands shake so badly I can barely scroll. Financial records, emails, photos, but most damning, a video file showing Sophie and a silver-haired man I recognize as the deceased Riverside partner, arguing about forged documents. A video dated 3 months after his supposed death. A knock at my door makes me slam the laptop shut. My heart pounds until I hear Maggie's voice. Paisley, it's me. She looks terrible. Mascara smeared, hair disheveled. Sophie knows you went to Boston. What? She called me into her office today. Started asking questions about our friendship, about your emotional stability. Then she mentioned your trip. Maggie's voice cracks. She showed me pictures of you at the airport. Ice spreads through my veins. How did she? She has people, Paisley. People who watch, who report back. And now? Maggie pulls out her phone, shows me an email. She's offering me a promotion, senior marketing manager. The position Maggie's been wanting for 2 years. The timing isn't subtle. What did you tell her? Nothing. Yet. Maggie won't meet my eyes. But she's expecting an answer tomorrow. About you. About everything I know. Understanding hits like a physical blow. She's trying to turn you against me. I would never. Maggie starts, then stops. God, Paisley, what have you gotten into? This morning I saw Nathaniel coming out of her office looking scared. Actually scared. And an hour later, HR announced his voluntary transfer to the Minneapolis office. Minneapolis, where Diane went, where careers go to die. She's cleaning house, I realize, consolidating power before I think of the video on my laptop, of the dead partner who wasn't dead, of signatures that kept appearing months later. I can't lose this opportunity, Maggie whispers. My mom's medical bills. I know, and I do know. Just like Sophie knows. She's brilliant at finding pressure points, at turning people's desperation against them. Whatever you're planning, Maggie says, whatever you found in Boston, be careful, please. After she leaves, I open my laptop again. The video plays silently, Sophie and the partner arguing, his very much alive face red with anger. I think about sending it to HR, to the board, to the police. Then I think about Marcus and the planted cocaine. About Lyle's ransacked apartment, about my mother in Phoenix, who Sophie's already watching. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Smart girl, using a burner phone to call Lyle, but not smart enough. Back off now, or your mother's medical records might show some interesting new conditions. Insurance companies can be so difficult about pre-existing conditions. My hands stop shaking. The fear crystallizes into something harder, colder. Sophie thinks this threat will make me back down. Instead, it shows me exactly what I need to do. I dial Natalie's number. It's late, she answers. I need everything you have on Nathaniel. The affairs, the evidence Sophie's using to control him, all of it. A long pause. Why? Because Sophie just had him transferred, which means she doesn't need him anymore, which means he has nothing left to lose, Natalie finishes, and men with nothing left to lose. Make excellent allies. Another pause. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. But Paisley, remember what I said about being sure you can finish what you start. I end the call and look at Sophie's thread again. Then I send a text to Sawyer in IT, the one person who's always seen through Sophie's act. Need a favor, off the books. Can you track an anonymous number? His response is immediate. For you, absolutely. Sophie finally showing her fangs? More than that. She's showing her weakness. I close my laptop, tucking the USB drive into a secure place. Tomorrow, I'll meet with Natalie. I'll contact Nathaniel. I'll start putting pieces in place. Because Sophie's right. I am smart. Smart enough to realize that the best way to defeat a monster isn't to expose them. It's to become a bigger monster. One who's willing to risk everything, because they've already lost what matters most. My phone buzzes one last time. Sophie. Account management paperwork all set. Though after your unauthorized absence today, we might need to discuss performance improvement plans instead. Breakfast tomorrow? I smile at her message, cold and sharp. Absolutely. I have some interesting things to share. The game is changing, Sophie. And this time, I'm writing the rules. The quarterly board meeting room feels like a courtroom, all dark wood and heavy silence. I sit calmly, watching Sophie work the room before the meeting starts. She's wearing her power suit, black Armani, red-soled heels, the outfit she saves for career executions. She hasn't noticed Nathaniel yet, sitting in the back corner. Hasn't seen how his hands keep brushing the manila envelope in front of him. Hasn't realized that Natalie's evidence gave him exactly what he needed. a way to save his family by coming clean first. Ready for your big presentation? Sophie stops by my chair, voice dripping honey. I know account management projects aren't as exciting as strategy work, but actually, I smile up at her. I've made a few changes to the agenda. A flicker of uncertainty crosses her face. Before she can respond, the CEO calls the meeting to order. I watch Sophie take her seat, watch her scroll through the meeting agenda on her tablet. Watch the exact moment she realizes her name is listed under personnel issues. Before we begin, I stand up, tablet in hand. I'd like to address some concerns about organizational integrity. Sophie's face remains perfectly composed, but her knuckles whiten around her pen. She thinks she knows what's coming. Accusations about my project, about her sabotage. She's prepared for that battle. She's not prepared for what actually comes next. 3 years ago, I begin, a partner at Riverside Consulting died of a heart attack. Or at least, that's what the official record shows. I pull up the first document. However, I have evidence that he was very much alive 3 months later, when several major client contracts were signed with his supposedly deceased signature. The room stills. Sophie's smile freezes. These signatures authorize the transfer of substantial funds to offshore accounts that, interestingly, connect to shell companies currently receiving consulting fees from our own organization. This is ridiculous. Sophie starts to stand. Obviously some sort of, I have video, I cut her off, of you, Sophie, arguing with a dead man about forged documents. Would you like me to play it? She sinks back into her chair. For the first time, I see real fear in her eyes. Additionally, I continue, I have statements from multiple employees about systematic harassment, evidence tampering, and financial misconduct. Mr. Lucas? I turn to Nathaniel. Would you like to share your experience? Nathaniel stands, his voice steady as he details Sophie's blackmail, her manipulation, her careful web of threats and lies. As he speaks, I watch the board members' faces shift from skepticism to shock to anger. This is a coordinated attack. Sophie finally interrupts, her voice sharp with desperation. Paisley is obviously unstable. Just ask Maggie Riley about the promotion you offered me to spy on Paisley. Maggie stands up from her seat by the door. I recorded that conversation, Sophie. Every word. Sophie's head whips around the room, taking in the faces turned against her. I see her calculating, planning, searching for an escape route. Then her eyes lock on mine, and her lips curve into a vicious smile. Interesting play, she says softly. But if I'm going down, I'm not going alone. Should we discuss your mother's recent insurance fraud? The backdated claims? My heart stops. What? Sophie's smile widens. Amazing what people will sign when they're desperate, when their daughter promises it's all above board. The room spins. My mother's signature. The insurance papers I helped her with. The forms Sophie somehow got her hands on. But before the panic can fully set in, another voice speaks up. You mean these claims? Sawyer from IT stands, holding up his tablet. The ones time-stamped from your IP address, created with your document template? Sophie's smile cracks. See, Sophie, I say, my voice steady despite my pounding heart. I learned from you. Every meeting, every email, every digital footprint, I tracked them all, including your failed attempt to frame my mother. The CEO's voice cuts through the tension. Security is on their way. Ms. Morrison, please surrender your company devices. What happens next feels like slow motion. Sophie lunging for her bag, security guards appearing at the doors, the flash of something metal in her hand. Later, I'll learn it was just her car keys. But in that moment, the threat feels real enough that when Nathaniel tackles her, no one questions it. As security leads Sophie away, she locks eyes with me one last time. You'll never prove everything, she hisses. Never prove enough for criminal charges. I lean in close, pitching my voice for her ears only. I don't need to prove everything. I just needed to prove enough. The rest? I smile, channeling her own cold confidence. Well, I learned from the best about how rumors and suspicions can destroy someone, didn't I? The doors close behind her, and just like that, it's over. But as congratulations and questions flood in from all sides, I realize something. It's not really over at all. It's just the beginning of who I've become. The office feels different without Sophie's shadow looming over everything. I'm packing up my old desk, not for account management, but for my new office in strategic planning. My name's already on the door, though it still doesn't feel quite real. Quite a view you'll have up there, Maggie says, helping me box up photos. She pauses at one of Sophie and me from last year's holiday party, both smiling at the camera. Should we burn this? Keep it, I say, as a reminder. Of what? How good she was at faking it? Of how good I got at beating her at her own game. I take the photo, studying our faces. And what that cost. Maggie sets down the box she's holding. You did what you had to do. Did I? I think about the look in Sophie's eyes as security led her away, about the whispers that followed her arrest, the rumors I carefully cultivated, the evidence I strategically leaked. I became exactly what she was. No, Natalie's voice comes from the doorway. You became what you needed to be. There's a difference. She enters, closing the door behind her. Speaking of which, there's something you should know. The board just received an interesting email from Riverside Consulting's former CFO. My stomach tightens. About certain financial irregularities that predate Sophie's employment there. Irregularities that might explain why she had that video in the first place. Natalie's expression is carefully neutral. Seems she wasn't just blackmailing people, she was being blackmailed. The revelation hits like a physical blow. By whom? Does it matter? The point is, you didn't just expose Sophie. You exposed an entire system of corruption, one that's been running for years. I think about the video, about the dead but not dead partner, about how easily Sophie got her hands on private information, medical records, bank statements, about all the people who helped her, enabled her, used her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Tristan, an interior designer, and I want to share how my dream kitchen, the culmination of years of hard work, unexpectedly turned into a source of family drama. After 6 years of saving every penny and working overtime, my husband Mark and I finally bought our dream home. It wasn't perfect, it needed a lot of work. But to us, it was everything. Finally, our daughter Emma could have a backyard to play in, and I could unleash my creativity as a designer. Babe, I know it's over budget, but these Italian marble countertops will make the kitchen, I told Mark during the renovation. He smiled, always trusting me, and said, "You're the expert. If you say it's worth it, I believe you." The kitchen became my pride and joy. Custom maple cabinets, professional-grade appliances, and a spacious island where the whole family could gather. It wasn't just a kitchen, it was my masterpiece. And for a while, it was perfect. Emma and I baked cookies every weekend, her little face covered in flour as she said, "Mommy, I love how big the counters are." But then the visits started. Mark's mother, Barbara, began dropping by unannounced, always around dinner time. "Oh, Hannah dear, these countertops must have cost a fortune. I hope Mark isn't working himself to death to pay for all this luxury," she'd say with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Soon, Mark's sister Sarah, fresh from her divorce, started showing up too. She'd sit at the island, running her hands over the marble. "This kitchen is amazing, Anna," she'd sigh dramatically. "After everything I've been through, I can only dream of having something like this." Her visits became more frequent and more intrusive. One Tuesday evening, as I prepped dinner, Sarah showed up with her kids unannounced. "Mom, Aunt Sarah's here," Emma called out excitedly. The door was unlocked. "I hope you don't mind," Sarah said breezily, walking in like she owned the place. "I just had to show my realtor friend your kitchen." She couldn't believe it when I described it. "Your realtor friend?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Oh, just getting some professional opinions. This layout is exactly what I've been looking for." I caught her taking photos when she thought I wasn't looking. The knot in my stomach tightened. That night, I overheard her on the phone in our driveway. "Mom, you should see how perfect it is. I know they worked hard for it, but after everything I've been through, don't I deserve something nice too?" When I told Mark, he dismissed it. "You're overthinking, Anna. They're just admiring your work." But something felt off. Barbara's lingering stares, Sarah's comments, it wasn't admiration. It was envy. Sunday dinner was the final straw. "A fresh start is exactly what Sarah needs right now," Barbara announced casually, "and your house would be perfect for her." I choked on my wine. "Excuse me?" Mom, we've talked about this. We're not selling, Mark said firmly, but I noticed he avoided eye contact with Sarah. Barbara waved him off. Oh, come on, Mark. Anna's expensive tastes must be bleeding you dry. Those marble countertops alone probably cost more than Sarah's first car. Actually, I got them at a designer discount, I said, trying to keep my cool. Designer discount or not, I heard some hefty withdrawals have been made lately. Barbara added smugly. Small town, sweetie. People talk. I froze. Was she talking to bank tellers about our finances? That evening my cousin Amy called. Anna, is everything okay? Barbara was at bridge club saying Mark's working 2 jobs to cover your spending. What? I nearly dropped the phone. That's not true. Where is she getting this? The next day, Sarah showed up unannounced again. Madison, Tyler, she called to her kids. Go help yourselves to anything in the kitchen. Anna always keeps it stocked. The good snacks? This isn't a convenience store, Sarah, I said through gritted teeth, watching her kids raid my pantry like it was their personal treasure trove. Family helps family, right? She replied, unfazed. Speaking of which, I had my realtor draw up an offer. It's below market value, but considering my situation, we're not selling. Period. I cut her off, my voice sharp. Don't be selfish, Anna. You can just design another kitchen somewhere else. I was still seething when Thursday's family dinner delivered the ultimate bombshell. Barbara stood up, tapping her wine glass with a spoon like she was announcing an engagement. I have wonderful news, she exclaimed, beaming. Sarah and the kids will be staying here while their rental gets fumigated. My fork clattered onto my plate. Absolutely not. It's just for a few weeks, Sarah chimed in, clearly delighted. The kids already picked their rooms. You did what? My voice trembled with anger. Mark finally found his voice. Mom, Sarah, you can't just decide these things without asking us. Oh, honey, Barbara said, feigning hurt. I knew Anna would overreact. This is why everyone says she's so materialistic. Heaven forbid she share her precious kitchen. Get out, I whispered, my voice shaking. Then louder, get out of my house. Barbara dabbed her eyes with a napkin, playing the victim. See how she treats family, Mark? Your sister needs help and your wife only thinks about herself. That night, Mark and I had our first real fight about his family. Maybe we could help them out for just a few weeks, he suggested hesitantly. Are you serious? They're manipulating you. Can't you see that? They're still my family, Anna. And what am I? The evil wife who won't share. They're spreading rumors about us. At the bank, at the bridge club, they're trying to force us out of our own home. You're being paranoid. No, I'm being smart. This isn't about helping Sarah. This is about taking what's ours. I stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door behind me. My mind raced. I needed proof, something concrete to show Mark what his mother and sister were really up to. The next morning, as I rifled through my jewelry box, my heart sank. What do you mean my tennis bracelet is missing? I muttered to myself. Worse, our house documents had vanished too. After a sleepless night, I called Linda, a private investigator a colleague had recommended. The retainer fee is steep, Linda warned during our coffee meeting. I don't care, I said. Something's not right, and I need to know what it is. 2 weeks later, Linda called. You better sit down for this, she said. Remember Sarah's sob story about her ex-husband David being a controlling jerk? Yeah, I said cautiously. Well, turns out it's the other way around. She was embezzling thousands from their business accounts. David agreed to a quiet divorce in exchange for dropping the charges. I felt sick. There's more, Linda continued. Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law have a history. Remember Aunt Patricia's house? The one Sarah lived in briefly before it was sold. Mark said Patricia wanted to help Sarah get back on her feet. Patricia didn't do anything. Barbara, acting as her power of attorney, forced the sale while Patricia was in the hospital. The money disappeared into Barbara's accounts. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady myself. They've done this before. 3 other family members, Linda confirmed. Same pattern. Sarah plays the victim, Barbara manipulates the situation, and properties get sold under market value. That evening, I discovered the missing documents in Sarah's forgotten purse. Just helping organize, she claimed, but her face paled when a small jewelry bag fell out. Organizing what exactly? My jewelry? I asked, holding up the bag. Don't be ridiculous. That's mine. Funny, I said, opening the bag. It has my initials engraved on it. Care to explain? She fled, but not before I snapped photos of everything. Later, I confronted Barbara alone. I know about Aunt Patricia's house, I said coldly. I have no idea what you're talking about, she replied, but the flicker of panic in her eyes gave her away. The power of attorney. The missing money. Ring any bells? You're delusional, she snapped. No one will believe you over family. David might, I said. I hear he's still interested in those missing company funds. For the first time, real fear flashed across her face. That night, I laid everything out for Mark. The documents, the photos, Linda's report. I don't want to believe this, he whispered, staring at the evidence. They were planning this before Sarah's divorce. They targeted us, our home, just like they did to Patricia and the others. But we need to be smart about this, Mark said, his voice steady. I trust you, Jess, and I'm so sorry I didn't believe you sooner. As we stayed up late strategizing, something became clear. This wasn't just about protecting our home anymore. It was about justice, not just for us, but for Patricia and everyone else they'd hurt. And I knew exactly how to ensure they never did this to another family again. 3 weeks later, we sat at the kitchen island, the one they tried so hard to steal, watching the aftermath unfold. Social media notifications, pinged, and family gossip filled our phones. Did you see Barbara's Facebook post? I asked Mark, showing him my screen. She's taking a sabbatical to focus on herself. Basically, she's running away to Florida. Mark smirked. After what James found about Patricia's will? Not surprising. The family group chat is on fire. My phone buzzed again, a text from Linda. Sarah just got served. Embezzlement charges and custody papers. David's lawyer says it's airtight. Mom, is Aunt Sarah going to jail? Emma asked, wandering in with her breakfast bowl. No, sweetie, I said, kneeling beside her. But she might have to make up for some of the mistakes she's made. The doorbell rang. Standing there was Barbara, looking desperate. Please, he begged. You have to help Sarah. She can't lose the kids. We're family. Mark stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Family? Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't try to force people out of their homes. I was only trying to... To what, Mom? Mark interrupted. Steal another house? Like you did to Aunt Patricia. That was different, Barbara snapped, her tone defensive. Get out, Mark said quietly, and don't contact us again. Later that evening, Amy called with updates. Sarah's kids are staying with David now, she said. She's facing serious charges, and no one in the family is willing to help her. Oh, and Barbara's been kicked out of her bridge club. Apparently, stealing from your elderly aunt doesn't sit well with polite society. Months passed. My design business thrived. Turns out, showcasing my dream kitchen attracted high-end clients. Mark got promoted, and Emma's grades improved now that the house was free of toxic drama. One evening, while I was prepping dinner, Mark wrapped his arms around me from behind. Thank you, he said softly, for fighting for us, for seeing what I couldn't. We fought together, I replied, leaning into him. That's what real family does. Cookie time, Emma called, skipping into the kitchen with a smile. As I watched my husband and daughter laugh together, surrounded by the kitchen I poured my heart into, I realized we gained something far more valuable than just keeping our home. We'd found our strength, our truth, our peace. No toxic family members required. What about you? Would you have exposed Sarah and Barbara's schemes right away or waited to gather more evidence like I did? Sometimes staying quiet reveals people's true colors, but it can also mean enduring more pain. Drop your thoughts below. Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy, and I need to share something deeply personal about my family. How I learned that sometimes the people closest to us can be the most toxic. I'm a 33-year-old interior designer living in Boston. My life seemed perfect not long ago. A thriving career, a beautiful 6-year-old daughter named Emma who lights up my world, and a husband, James Reynolds, who I thought was everything I'd ever wanted. We met 5 years ago at a charity gala. He was charming, successful in real estate development, and seemed like the perfect match. Within a year, we were married, living in a stunning home in Brookline, and I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. Even his mother, Patricia, welcomed me with open arms. "You've brought such joy to our family, dear," she said warmly during our first meeting. If only I'd known that her sugary words were masking something much darker. The first red flag came at Emma's 5th birthday party. I planned a magical princess-themed celebration, complete with decorations, games, and everything a little girl could dream of. Patricia strolled in, her eyes scanning the room with barely hidden disapproval. "Oh, wouldn't it have been nicer with a more sophisticated theme?" she mused. "Children need proper guidance. When James was young, I always ensured his parties were educational." Later, I met Sarah Chen, my sister-in-law, who pulled me aside. "Don't let her get to you," she whispered. "She did the same thing at my daughter's party last month." "Does she always try to control everything?" I asked, half joking. Sarah gave me a knowing look. "You have no idea. Just wait until she starts comparing you to James's ex." Sunday dinners quickly became a battlefield of subtle digs and unwelcome advice. Patricia would serve her famous roast while slipping in her critiques. "Emma seems a bit unfocused at the table, dear," she'd say with a tight smile. "Perhaps you should consider stricter discipline." In my day, James's business partner, Cooper, often looked visibly uncomfortable around Patricia, muttering cryptic remarks like, "Something's not right with that woman." To escape the stress, Emma and I created our own traditions. Saturday became our day: pancake breakfasts, park visits, and craft projects. But the tension never truly stayed away. "Mommy, can we skip Grandma's dinner tomorrow?" Emma would ask. I couldn't blame her. Patricia's remarks became sharper with each visit. "Don't you want to be a good student like your cousin?" she'd say to Emma. Then, turning to me, "Tracy, perhaps you should reconsider your parenting approach." James would sit there silently, scrolling on his phone. Later, he'd shrug it off. "She means well." But I noticed how he changed when he was around her, more critical, more distant. Sarah confided in me again over coffee last week. She tried to convince my husband I was overspending on the kids. She even brought him bank statements. Can you believe it? I started documenting everything: her comments, her interference, her subtle undermining, because something darker was surfacing. Patricia's perfectly polished exterior was cracking, and I was beginning to see the manipulative force beneath. The tipping point came at last month's Easter dinner. Patricia accidentally spilled red wine all over my new design portfolio, the one I needed for an important client meeting the next day. "Oh, you're still doing that little decorating thing," she said dismissively. "I thought you focused more on family by now." She didn't even attempt to help clean up. James barely looked up from his phone. "Mom didn't mean it, Tracy. You're being too sensitive again." But it wasn't just me. At Sarah's son's birthday party, I overheard Patricia gossiping to other mothers. "Poor James. I worry about Tracy's stability. She's been so erratic lately. Did you know she takes medication for her nerves? I've never taken anxiety medication in my life." Then came the dinner that changed everything. Emma, excited about her school art project, was chatting away at the table. "Sweetheart, please sit still," I said gently. "She's disrupting dinner." Patricia snapped. Turning to James, she barked, "Your daughter needs discipline." Before I could respond, Patricia grabbed Emma's arm and marched her downstairs. The sound of the basement door locking sent chills down my spine. "She needs to learn," Patricia said coldly, pocketing the key. "This is how we handled James when he misbehaved," Patricia said with a chilling smile, her words hanging heavy in the air. Below us, Emma's cries echoed from the basement. "Where's my mommy?" she sobbed. I bolted from my chair. "Give me the key, now." "You're being hysterical, Tracy," James said, his tone clipped, as if I were the one out of line. Patricia waved a hand dismissively. "Emma was just playing down there," she claimed later, after I'd already called the police. "Stop making a scene." That night, while James was in the shower, his phone lit up with messages from Patricia. One caught my eye. "We need to handle the situation before she ruins everything. Remember what happened with Rachel? We can't let that happen again. I've already spoken to Dr. Harrison about getting her evaluated." My hands shook as I read those words. Who was Dr. Harrison? What had happened with Rachel? The next day, James pulled me aside at work. His expression was grave. "Tracy, listen carefully. Something's not right with the company finances. Patricia's name is on documents she shouldn't be involved with. Be careful." What do you mean? He hesitated. Last time someone questioned her involvement, they were forced to resign under serious allegations. What kind of allegations? The kind that ruin careers and families. Watch your back. Patricia has friends in high places. I didn't have long to process his warning. That night, I overheard James on the phone. Yes, Mother. I understand. Tracy won't be a problem much longer. Emma still has nightmares about the basement. She wakes up crying, clutching me, whispering, "Don't let Grandma take me." This isn't just about control anymore. Something bigger, something darker, is unfolding, and I need to uncover it before it's too late. The first step was digging deeper. After the basement incident, Sarah invited me to a quiet cafe, far from prying eyes. Rachel, she said, lowering her voice. James' ex-fiancé. She didn't actually have an affair. Patricia set the whole thing up, hired a guy to fake photos. I found out through my husband's old emails. My stomach turned. How do you know all this? Because she tried the same thing with me. Said if I didn't give up my job, some compromising photos might just happen to find their way to my husband. I decided to play Patricia's game. I accepted her insincere apology about the basement and pretended to make peace. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator. The results were shocking. Your mother-in-law visits your office building regularly when you're not there, the investigator reported. She's been meeting with your biggest clients. Within a week, 3 clients canceled their contracts. We heard you're having personal problems, they said awkwardly. The walls were closing in, but James surprised me by calling a secret meeting at a diner outside of town. His hands trembled as he slid a USB drive across the table. "Tracy, it's all here," he whispered. "Patricia's been using my company to launder money. Those luxury condos downtown, they're fake projects. The money's coming from somewhere else." "And you?" I asked, dreading the answer. "I sign whatever she puts in front of me," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Always have. But it's not just me. She's doing this to everyone in the family." I reached out to James's sister, Amanda, at her yoga studio. Her eyes filled with tears. "She controls everything," Amanda said. "My business loan? It's actually my inheritance, but she made me sign papers saying I owe her. She's done the same to David and Lisa." As I dug through old records, I discovered a history of domestic violence complaints against Patricia, all mysteriously dropped. "Keep playing nice," Sarah advised. "Document everything." So I did. I started wearing a discreet recorder to every family gathering. Last Sunday, I hit gold. "Really, James," Patricia said, not knowing I was just around the corner. "Once we get rid of her like we did Rachel, everything will go back to normal. The company can't afford questions right now. But Emma, she'll forget about her mother eventually, just like you forgot about your father after I sent him away." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. James's father hadn't abandoned them, as Patricia always claimed. What had she done to him? The more I uncovered, the more sinister her schemes became. Regulators were starting to notice her sloppy mistakes. James showed me documents Patricia had tried to force him to sign, backdated contracts, and falsified statements. In his office, I found evidence she'd been stealing from her other children's trusts for years. She'd even forged James's signature to gain power of attorney over Emma's college fund. "We're all trapped," Amanda confided. "She has dirt on everyone." I stared at my phone, another missed call from Patricia lighting up the screen. It was time to spring the trap. "Of course, I'll come to dinner Sunday, Mother," I said, my voice as sweet as honey. "I think it's time we all had a nice, long family chat." But dinner wasn't where I planned to end this. Patricia's annual charity gala, the crown jewel of her social calendar, would be the perfect stage. Everyone who mattered in Boston society would be there. Her country club friends, business associates, and the very people she had spent years manipulating. "So glad you could make it, dear," Patricia said, her signature pearls gleaming under the chandeliers. Her smile was all too confident. "James tells me you've been much more cooperative lately." Little did she know, the entire family was ready to take her down. James, Sarah, Amanda, David, and even Rachel, James' ex-fiancé, were in position. It was showtime. Patricia took the stage, her voice smooth and commanding as she launched into a speech about family values and integrity. That was Amanda's cue. Speaking of family, Amanda interrupted, standing up from her seat. Let's talk about how you stole our inheritances. She held up a stack of documents. I have the real ones right here. Patricia's smile froze. Amanda, dear, you're confused. No, Mother, David interjected, rising to his feet. We've seen the proof. Every so-called loan you gave us was stolen from our trust funds. Sarah stepped forward next, holding up her phone. Shall I play the recording of you threatening to frame me for an affair? Or maybe the one where you admit to hiring someone to stalk Rachel? Patricia lunged for Sarah's phone, but James was already plugging his laptop into the projector. Your attention, please, he announced to the stunned crowd. These documents show years of fraud at Reynolds Development. My mother has been using the company to launder money, funneling millions into her own accounts. Gasps rippled through the room as Rachel emerged from the crowd. Is this also ridiculous, Patricia? She said, her voice steely. Like how you faked photos of me cheating? Or how about we discuss what really happened to James's father? Pandemonium broke out. Patricia's carefully curated world crumbled before her eyes. Her country club friends backed away in disgust as police officers entered the room, escorted by SEC agents James had already tipped off. You ungrateful little. Patricia hissed at me, venom dripping from every word. I'll destroy you like you destroyed your husband. Smiling coldly, I reached into my bag and pressed play on my recorder. Her voice echoed through the room. Once we get rid of her, everything will go back to normal. Emma will forget about her mother, just like James forgot about his father after I sent him away. The truth about James's father finally came to light, and Patricia's empire crumbled under the weight of her crimes. 1 year later, life looks completely different now. My design firm is thriving, expanding into New York, and Emma's nightmares have all but vanished with the help of therapy. She loves her new school, her smile bright and unafraid. Patricia, on the other hand, is facing multiple lawsuits from enraged investors. Her assets are frozen, her once gilded reputation is ruined, and her social circle has abandoned her. Last I heard, she's living in a tiny apartment, utterly alone. James lost everything in our divorce. The SEC investigation revealed he had knowingly participated in Patricia's schemes, signing off on fraudulent deals for years. After serving a brief sentence, he moved to Ohio, working at his cousin's car dealership. Yesterday, I received a tear-streaked letter from Patricia. I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk? I didn't read past the first line. I shredded it and tossed it into the trash. Mommy, can we get ice cream? Emma asked this morning, her eyes sparkling. Of course, baby, I said, looking around our peaceful new home. Surrounded by true friends like Sarah and Amanda, I felt a deep sense of peace. We'd done it. We were free. The best revenge wasn't just exposing Patricia's lies or seeing her empire fall. It was this: happiness, success, and a life completely free from toxic people. Patricia, she's just a cautionary tale now, one I tell other women when we talk about trusting our instincts. Sometimes the only way to win is to walk away and let karma do the rest. Would you have exposed Patricia immediately, or would you have played the long game like I did to bring her entire empire crashing down? Let me know in the comments. Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Jack, and today I'm sharing how I dealt with toxic people in my life. Trust me, this one's a roller coaster that will leave your blood boiling. Before my life turned into a full-blown soap opera, I was thriving at Anderson Marketing. In just 4 years, I climbed from intern to senior account manager, my biggest supporter, my older sister Anna, until she met him. 3 years ago, Anna called me, practically glowing through the phone. Diana, you won't believe who I met at the coffee shop. His name's Tom Davis, and he's a financial advisor. Red flags started waving the first time Tom joined us for a family dinner. Must be nice having such an ambitious little sister, he said to Anna, his smile not reaching his eyes. Hope it doesn't make you feel overshadowed, babe. After their wedding, Anna transformed. My closest confidant became Tom's echo chamber. Our calls grew shorter, her excuses longer. Still, life at work was looking up. One morning, my mentor, Barbara, smiled at me during a meeting. Diana, you're glowing. The nomination for Young Professional of the Year couldn't have gone to anyone more deserving. Thanks, B, I still can't believe it's happening. Believe it, my best friend Jessica chimed in during lunch. You're going to crush that ceremony next month. But my excitement crumbled at the next family dinner. Young Professional of the Year? That's nice, Tom said, barely looking up from his plate. Anna was up for an award at her old job, weren't you, honey? Before you decided to focus on our marriage. Oh yes, I was, Anna mumbled, avoiding my eyes. Maybe tone down the career talk, Mom said gently. You know how it makes your sister feel. Dad opened his mouth to object but stopped at Tom's sharp glance. That night Jessica called. Your sister's husband is such a piece of work, she fumed. Did you see how he tried to diminish your achievement? I know, Jess, he's getting worse. Last week, he accidentally forwarded me an email where he told Anna my success might be making her depressed. That's straight up manipulation, she snapped. Barbara mentioned he tried cornering her at the company party, complaining you show off too much at work. The worst part is watching Anna change. Remember her book club? Tom convinced her to shut it down because it was taking time from their marriage. Still, I looked forward to the awards ceremony. The date was set, the 15th of next month. Barbara had arranged for key industry leaders to attend. This was huge for my career. But then, at another family dinner, Tom struck. Everyone, Anna and I have an announcement, he said, grinning smugly. We're planning our 3-year anniversary celebration. It's booked at the Golden Rose venue for the 15th of next month. My fork clattered against my plate. That was the night of my awards ceremony. Tom, I said, keeping my voice steady. You know that's the night of my... Oh right, your little work thing, he interrupted. Well, family comes first, doesn't it? Anna would be heartbroken if you miss our special day. Right, honey? Anna looked down at her plate. It would mean a lot if you were there. Days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Diana, please don't create drama. Your sister's marriage should take priority. I called Jessica, pacing furiously. Can you believe this? He deliberately picked that date. This is out of hand, Jessica said. By the way, Anna's college roommate, Kate, called me. Apparently, Tom's been telling people you've been jealous of their marriage since day one. My blood ran cold. He's what? That's not all, Jessica continued. Kate said she tried visiting Anna last month, but Tom told her Anna was too busy for old friends. The sound of my office door opening startled me. Barbara stepped inside, her brow furrowed. Diana, you look upset. Is everything okay? I couldn't hold it in anymore. My voice trembled as I spilled everything. Tom's manipulations, my family's pressure, and Anna's heartbreaking transformation. Mom's already texting me about family loyalty, and Dad just sends these sad face emojis. Barbara leaned forward, her expression firm. Listen to me. This award could open doors for you. Don't let anyone dim your light. That evening, Anna called. Tom says you're being difficult about the anniversary party, she began hesitantly. Anna, he knew about my ceremony. He did this on purpose. Why do you always think the worst of him? She snapped. Maybe if you had someone special in your life, you'd understand. I blinked, stunned. Are you serious right now? What happened to the sister who drove 3 hours to cheer me up after my first failed presentation? Silence. Remember when you wanted to start that literacy program, but Tom said it would interfere with his networking dinners? I pressed. That's different, she whispered. He was thinking about our future. No, Anna. He was controlling you, just like he's trying to control this situation. You don't understand. Tom says. Tom says. Tom says. Tom says. I interrupted. When did you stop having your own voice? The line went quiet before she spoke again, her voice small. Just, please come to the anniversary. For me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm going to my ceremony, Anna. I've worked too hard to let anyone take this from me, even family. After hanging up, another text arrived from Mom. Your sister's crying. I hope you're happy. I stared at my nomination letter on the wall, thinking of the Anna I used to know. Fierce, independent, supportive. She was still in there somewhere, but I couldn't set myself on fire to keep her warm. I texted Jessica. I'm going to my ceremony. Her reply was immediate. Hell yes, you are. What I didn't know then was that Tom's sabotage attempts would lead to revelations that would shake our family to its core. And a Young Professional of the Year award goes to Diana Jack, standing at the podium in my sharpest blazer and brightest smile. I almost forgot the drama. Almost. As the applause died down, my CEO took the mic. This promotion comes with our New York office expansion, she announced. Diana, we want you to lead it. My phone buzzed with missed calls from Mom and Anna, but one text stood out. It was from Michael, Barbara's brother, who worked in financial investigations. Need to talk. It's about Tom. Urgent. Over coffee the next morning, Michael slid a folder across the table. We've been investigating his firm, Diana. He's running a Ponzi scheme. What? I whispered, my hands shaking as I flipped through the documents. And that's not all, Michael continued grimly. His previous marriage ended in bankruptcy. His ex-wife lost everything. Just then, text from Anna lit up my phone. How could you skip our anniversary? Tom told everyone you're just jealous because you're alone. Before I could respond, Barbara rushed into the cafe. Diana, Tom's at the office looking for you, she said breathlessly. He's telling everyone you agreed to invest your bonus in his special project. I know. Security's handling it, but there's more. Anna called, crying. He screamed at her for commenting on your award post. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Jessica. Girl, you need to see this. Tom's got an active dating profile. Anna has no idea. I felt sick. Send me screenshots, I said. I'm documenting everything. That afternoon, Tom cornered me in the parking lot. You ungrateful little brat, he hissed. You're ruining everything. Back off, Tom, I said, my voice steady. I know about the fraud investigation. His face turned white. Who told you? That witch Barbara. I gestured toward the surveillance cameras. Security, Tom. Every word is being recorded. His tone shifted, softening. Diana, come on. We're family. I've got an investment opportunity that could make you rich. Just hear me out. Like you made your ex-wife rich before bankrupting her? I shot back. His mask slipped. You think you're so smart. Anna will never believe you over me. Maybe not, I said. But I bet your investors will believe the SEC. Later that evening, Anna called, sobbing. Diana, I found withdrawals. Hundreds of thousands. Gambling debts. He hit the wall next to my head. I'm at Jessica's, she added. I'm scared. Stay there, I said. I'm coming. I texted Michael. Send everything to his firm. Now. My phone exploded with notifications. Mom, Tom's being escorted out of his office. Jessica. Anna's safe. She's talking to a divorce lawyer. Barbara, SEC just announced a formal investigation. That night, as Tom's face flashed across financial news channels, I didn't feel satisfaction, only relief. Relief that Anna was finally free, that Tom's mask had cracked before he could harm anyone else. His final text came at midnight. I'm sorry, please I can explain everything. I blocked his number without hesitation. Sitting in Jessica's guest room, holding my sobbing sister, I realized some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Sometimes walking away isn't just a choice, it's survival. 6 months later, the Manhattan skyline glittered behind me as Jessica helped unpack boxes in my new corner office. Welcome to New York, she said with a grin. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Financial advisor Thomas Davis sentenced to 15 years for investment fraud. Did you see? He's blaming it all on his gambling addiction, Jessica said, rolling her eyes. Classic manipulator to the end, I replied. The desk phone lit up. Anna calling from her new apartment back home. The divorce is final, she said, her voice stronger than I'd heard in years. You were right about everything. How are you holding up? I asked. Taking it day by day. I started counseling, and I'm thinking about restarting my book club. Later, Mom and Dad called on a conference line. Diana, honey, we're so sorry, Mom's voice cracked. We should have seen what he was doing to both of you, Dad added. We were blind, but we're learning to speak up now. Barbara and Michael knocked on my office door, ready to escort me to the investment conference. Time for your speech, Barbara said, smiling proudly. Standing at the podium, I looked out at the audience, faces that represented different parts of my story. Jessica filmed from the front row, Barbara beamed with pride, and Michael gave a subtle thumbs up. Success isn't just about climbing higher, I began. It's about lifting others while maintaining your boundaries. Later that evening, I received a photo from Anna. She was at her first solo art exhibition. My own dreams now, her text read. Thank you for showing me how. Back at my apartment, Jessica pointed to an envelope on the coffee table. Another award, she teased. Industry Leadership Excellence, I confirmed. Ceremonies next month. Think Tom will schedule another anniversary party? She joked. He'll be too busy with prison anniversaries, I quipped. My phone buzzed again. Headlines about Tom's sentencing, followed by a text from Anna. He's really gone. I feel free. Jessica glanced up from her phone. Your sister's story inspired 3 women in her support group to leave their controlling husbands. That group is growing. Barbara called shortly after. They want to feature you in Women in Leadership next week, she said. Ready to tell your story? I smiled. I already am. Before bed, I deleted the last traces of Tom from my phone. His contact, old messages, everything. As I hit delete all, Anna sent one final text. He asked Mom to beg me for another chance. Says he found God in prison. My reply was simple. Block him. Her response came quickly. Already did. Some chapters need to stay closed. Looking out at the city lights, I realized success wasn't just in the awards or the corner office. It was in the boundaries I'd drawn, the sister I'd helped save, and the strength we both found. What about you? If you were Anna, would you read Tom's letter seeking forgiveness, or shred it like I did? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Olivia, 34 years old and one of the top real estate agents in our city. 5 years ago, I thought I had it all: a thriving career, a seemingly perfect marriage to Mark, and a bright, promising future. But looking back now, I can see the red flags I chose to ignore. Babe, Tommy's just going through a rough patch. He'll pay us back once he's back on his feet, Mark would say whenever his perpetually unemployed brother needed money. That rough patch has been dragging on for 3 years. It wasn't until Sarah, my best friend and fellow realtor, pulled me aside during a house showing that I started to question things. Have you noticed Mark dodging questions of the joint investment account? She asked. What do you mean? I frowned. Every time I bring it up at dinner, he changes the subject. Just keep an eye on things, okay? I brushed it off. Sarah was protective, sometimes overly so. But now, I wish I'd listened sooner. The turning point came last Sunday at Patricia's house, my mother-in-law. I overheard a conversation that made my stomach drop. Mom, I need you to cover for me again. Olivia's been asking about the transfers. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll tell her it was for Tommy's medical bills. She always backs off when it's about health issues. I pretended not to hear, but my mind raced. How many times had they played this game behind my back? Later that evening, my father called. Robert, a self-made construction magnate, was no stranger to hard truths. Princess, I'm worried about those contracts Mark's company is handling for us. Something doesn't add up. Dad, it's fine. Mark knows what he's doing. Just like he knew what he was doing with your house down payment? Dad's voice sharpened. The one he invested in Tommy's food truck business. The sting of that memory hit hard. $50,000 gone. And Tommy never even bought the truck. Mark had sworn he didn't know Tommy would blow the money gambling. Now I wasn't so sure. That night, I stared at our wedding photo. Mark had looked so sincere, so trustworthy. When he came home, I confronted him. Honey, we need to talk about the credit card statement. Not now, babe. Tommy's having another crisis. He needs us. He always needs us. What about what we need? Don't start. You know family comes first. Funny how it's always your family that comes first. I watched him walk away, phone already pressed to his ear, probably calling Tommy. Sarah's words echoed in my mind. Olivia, you're successful, smart, and strong. Don't let anyone dim your light, not even your husband. That was the moment I started to see clearly. The perfect marriage, the devoted husband, the troubled but well-meaning brother-in-law. It was all a facade, and that facade was about to shatter. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Mark's Uncle James had passed away, leaving him a $2 million inheritance. I'll never forget how Mark's eyes lit up, not with grief, but with something else I couldn't quite place. Baby, we're set for life. We can finally start that family we've been talking about. 2 weeks later, while organizing our home office, I stumbled across the transfer documents. My hands trembled as I read them. The entire inheritance, all $2 million, had been transferred to Tommy's account. What the actual hell is this? I demanded that evening, the papers shaking in my hand. Tommy has a brilliant business idea. It's guaranteed to triple our money. Our money. You didn't even consult me. Look, it's my inheritance, my decision. Besides, your dad's loaded. Why don't you just ask him for your share early? It'll balance everything out. I stared at him stunned. Are you seriously suggesting I ask my father for money because you gave away your inheritance to your deadbeat brother? Don't call him that. At least my family sticks together. I didn't say another word. But in that moment, I knew this wasn't a marriage. It was a sinking ship, and I was the only one who could save myself. Sarah and I spent the next week combing through financial documents. What we uncovered made my stomach churn. Look at these, Sarah said, pointing to her laptop screen. 3 hidden credit cards, all maxed out. And these loan applications. $50,000 here, $30,000 there. None of it registered to your joint accounts. It's all going to Tommy's so-called ventures. She met my gaze, her expression grim. He's been planning this, Olivia. I drove to Patricia's house, hoping for answers. Big mistake. You ungrateful little witch, she snapped as soon as I mentioned the money. After everything we've done for you. Done for me, my voice shook with anger. Your son has been stealing from our marriage for years. Marriage is about sacrifice, she hissed. Tommy needs this chance. His new crypto investment platform will change everything. Crypto. He told Mark it was a chain of gyms. Well, maybe if you weren't so focused on your precious career, you'd understand that family matters. I left Patricia's house in tears, but they weren't sad tears anymore. They were tears of fury. My phone buzzed as I got into the car. It was a text from Tommy. Thanks for believing in me, sis. This investment is going to make us all rich. That night, Mark stumbled into the house, reeking of whiskey. Your father called me today, he said, his words slurred. Did you tell him about the inheritance? No, but maybe I should have. Mark's face darkened. You know what your problem is? You've always been jealous of my relationship with Tommy. Jealous? Of what? His ability to burn through other people's money. He's family, something you clearly don't understand. Family doesn't steal from family, Mark. It's not stealing if it's freely given. His tone turned venomous. Maybe if you weren't such a controlling bye. Don't you dare finish that sentence. My voice was ice. I turned and walked out of the room, my mind racing. Earlier that day, Sarah had said something that stuck with me. Olivia, this isn't just about the inheritance anymore. This is about years of manipulation. And honey, we're just scratching the surface. She was right. I was done being the understanding wife. It was time to uncover the full truth. The next day, I sat in Michael's office, a forensic accountant Sarah had introduced me to. Bank statements were spread across his desk, and the look on his face told me I wasn't ready for what he'd found. Your joint business account has been systematically drained over the past 3 years, he said. Small amounts at first, then larger withdrawals. How much? Close to $300,000. My hands trembled. That's impossible. I would have noticed. Not if someone was doctoring the statements. Michael pulled up more files. Look here, these are digital alterations. And these? He pointed to a new set of documents. 5 failed businesses under Tommy's name. A juice bar, a CrossFit gym, a food delivery app, all funded by money siphoned from various accounts, including your father's construction company. My heart sank. My father's company? Your husband's position at his marketing firm gave him access to contract details. See these inflated marketing costs? The excess funds were funneled to shell companies owned by Tommy. Sarah squeezed my hand. There's more, isn't there? Michael nodded grimly. Tommy's new crypto platform. It's targeting seniors, promising 300% returns and guaranteed retirement funds. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Did you talk to your dad about the inheritance yet? I typed back, working on it. He seems open to the idea. The lie tasted bitter, but I needed time. Every night after Mark fell asleep, I photographed documents, recorded conversations, and backed up everything to a secure cloud account. Later that week, I overheard Tommy on the phone at Patricia's house. The old folks are eating it up, he said, his voice smug. This crypto thing is genius. Who knew retirees had so much cash? Just be careful, Patricia warned. Remember what happened with the gym scam in Colorado. Mom, chill. Mark cleaned up all traces of that. His position at the marketing firm makes everything look legit. I slipped out, nauseous. At home, I found Mark at the computer, deleting emails. "What's this about a gym in Colorado?" I asked, my voice sharp. He froze. "Who told you about that?" "Does it matter? How many people did you scam there?" "It wasn't a scam. The investors knew the risks. Like the seniors you're scamming now." His face darkened. "You've been snooping." "Somebody had to. You stole from our business account." "I borrowed it. Tommy's platform will pay everything back." "Like the juice bar did? Or the food delivery app?" "You don't understand business." "No, I understand it perfectly. I also understand fraud." Mark grabbed my arm. "You better keep your mouth shut." "Or what? You'll steal more money? Get Patricia to lie for you again." His phone rang. Tommy had more investors lined up, ready to sink their hard-earned retirement funds into his scam. I watched Mark leave the house, already rehearsing his sales pitch. It was like watching a tragic play, one I was finally ready to bring down. I called Michael. "I need everything you have on the Colorado gym scandal." "Already found it," he replied. "Patricia helped cover up losses of over $500,000. Senior citizens lost their savings there too." "Send me everything," I said. Moments later, Sarah texted me. "Are you sure you want to know how deep this goes?" "I need to know everything, every lie, every scam, every cent they stole," I replied. I glanced at our wedding photo again. Once, it symbolized a golden future, built on trust and love. Now, I saw it for what it was, a facade. But I wasn't that naive woman anymore. Their house of cards was about to collapse. The next day, I made my move. "What do you mean you can't access the account?" Mark's voice echoed through the kitchen, laced with frustration. "There's a security hold on the transfer," he said into his phone. What he didn't know was that I had already moved every cent from our joint accounts to new ones he couldn't touch. The look on his face when he realized he was powerless was priceless. That same morning, Tommy's crypto platform began to unravel. One of their helpless senior citizen investors turned out to be a retired FBI agent specializing in financial crimes. "The feds are sniffing around," Tommy shouted into the phone, his voice frantic. "We need to shut everything down." But it was too late. Mark's company had already launched an internal audit after years of doctored contracts, and inflated invoices finally came to light. I'd made sure they received an anonymous tip about the Colorado gym scandal too. "You're fired, effective immediately," his boss told him. "The FBI will be in contact regarding the fraud charges." By the end of the week, the inheritance money was gone, and Tommy's crypto platform had collapsed, taking every last cent with it, including Patricia's retirement savings. She had invested heavily in her precious son's scheme. I filed for divorce the same day Tommy was arrested. Mark showed up at my office later, desperate and disheveled. "Baby, please, we can fix this. I've changed. Like you changed after the juice bar scam or the gym scandal." That was different. I was trying to help Tommy. "And now you can help him by visiting him in federal prison." The last I heard, Mark was living in Patricia's basement, working the night shift at a gas station. Tommy got 8 years for fraud. Their perfect little family scam had finally imploded. As for me, Dad made me head of real estate for his construction company. We're expanding into 3 new states. One day, I saw Mark at the gas station. He was in his polyester uniform, looking shabby and worn. "Olivia, wait," he called, jogging toward me. "Just 5 minutes, please. I've had time to think. I know I messed up, but we could start over." I looked at him, really looked. The designer suits were gone, replaced by cheap fabric. The confident smile I once fell for was now desperate and pleading. "The thing about second chances, Mark," I said, "is they're for people who learn from their first mistakes, not for those who spend years perfecting their scams." "I've changed, I swear." "No, you haven't. You're just sorry you got caught." I walked away, his voice calling after me. 5 years ago, I might have turned around, but I wasn't that woman anymore. As Sarah and I drove off, she grinned. "Commercial property's looking pretty good right now, huh?" "Everything's looking pretty good right now," I said. And for the first time in years, it truly was. If you discovered your spouse had secretly transferred their entire $2 million inheritance to fund a family member's scams, what would you do? Would you stay quiet and gather evidence like I did, or confront them immediately and risk losing the chance to expose their entire web of lies? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. Have you ever felt trapped in a golden cage? A place where every bar is crafted from judgment and every breath is measured against someone else's success. That was my life with the Wilsons. But today, I'm sharing how I turned their psychological warfare into my greatest victory. If you're ready to hear this story of transformation, make sure to like and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this ends. I was 26 when I married Tom Wilson. Armed with a business degree and dreams of building a loving family, I thought I had it all figured out. But my dream quickly unraveled, courtesy of my mother-in-law, Patricia, and her golden child, Emma. Sarah, darling, Emma just closed another six-figure deal today. Isn't it wonderful to have someone in the family who actually contributes to society? Patricia's voice was sweet, her words sharp as daggers. It was our weekly family dinner, and as usual, I pushed my food around my plate, forcing a polite smile. Tom chuckled. Mom's just proud of Emma, babe. Don't take it personally. But in the Wilson household, everything was personal. Achievements weren't celebrated, they were weapons. Choices weren't decisions, they were battlegrounds. Emma, the marketing executive extraordinaire, was Patricia's crown jewel, and I, the housewife with a business degree, was the family's disappointment. You know, Sarah, Emma said during one of our forced shopping trips, there are always entry-level positions at my company. Even answering phones would be something. Then came the news that changed everything. I was pregnant. Instead of joy, I felt dread creeping in, magnified by severe back pain that arrived early in my pregnancy. The doctor prescribed rest and minimal physical strain, but Patricia dismissed it over brunch. Pregnant women have been working since the dawn of time, she said, slicing into her grapefruit. Emma worked through 2 major campaigns with the flu last month. Now that's dedication. The breaking point came when Emma bought her new house in Oakwood Heights. Patricia couldn't stop bragging. My Emma, climbing the property ladder while others just exist. One afternoon, as I battled another wave of back pain, Patricia cornered me in the kitchen. Emma's too busy to clean her new house before moving in. Since you're home all day doing nothing, you'll take care of it. Patricia, my back. Oh please, she cut me off. It's just cleaning. What else do you contribute to this family? Emma works 60-hour weeks, and you can't even manage this. Tom walked in mid-conversation. Mom's right, honey. Emma's been so stressed with work. It's the least we can do. I stood there, one hand on my aching back and the other protectively over my barely showing pregnancy bump. In their eyes, I would never be enough. But in that moment, I made a silent promise to myself and my unborn child. This wouldn't be our life forever. The morning of Emma's house cleaning felt like a scene from a psychological thriller. I stood in front of her massive Victorian home, cleaning supplies in hand, my back screaming in protest. The gray clouds overhead mirrored the storm brewing inside me. Oh good, you're finally here, Emma said, stepping onto the porch with a steaming cup of coffee. The cleaning service I usually use charges $500 a day, so you're really saving me money. She ushered me in, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floors. I started in the kitchen while Emma set up her laptop in the dining room. As I scrubbed, I heard the deliberate clink of her breakfast muffin crumbs hitting the floor. Sorry, she said absently, eyes glued to her screen. I'm on important calls all day. Try to keep the noise down. 4 hours in, my back felt like it was being stabbed with hot knives. Emma, I need to take a break. She barely looked up. Seriously. I'm in the middle of a huge campaign, and you're not even halfway done. Mom was right about your work ethic. Through the haze of pain, I heard her voice drifting from her office. Yes, Patricia, she said, laughing. She's already playing the pregnancy card. Can you believe it? Remember how I worked through that acquisition deal with pneumonia? Patricia's shrill laugh pierced through the speaker. That's my girl. Unlike some people who think marriage is a free ride. Did you know she went to that community college downtown? Honestly, Tom could have done so much better. Tears stung my eyes as I scrubbed harder at the baseboards, her words cutting deeper than the ache in my back. My phone buzzed on the counter. Tom's response to my earlier text about the pain lit up the screen. Stop being dramatic. Mom says you're embarrassing me. Just then, a knock at the door interrupted my spiral. Emma groaned, tossing her pen onto the table. Get that, will you? And try not to look so pathetic when you answer it. At the door stood a striking woman in her 40s, holding a package. I'm Rebecca, from next door. They delivered this to my house by mistake. Her sharp eyes took in my pale face and hunched posture. Are you okay? You look unwell. She's fine. Emma called from behind me, her voice dripping with condescension. Just lazy, as usual. Rebecca's expression hardened, her tone suddenly businesslike. Lazy, huh? She pulled out a sleek business card and handed it to me, CEO of a digital marketing firm. I couldn't help but overhear earlier, she said, her voice dropping to a softer pitch. I know talent when I see it, and I know abuse when I see it too. Come by my house when you're done. We need to talk. That evening, with an ice pack pressed to my back, I walked into Rebecca's home. Her office walls were lined with awards and magazine covers, each one reflecting her immense success. What they're doing to you is classic psychological abuse, Rebecca said, pouring herbal tea into a delicate porcelain cup. But I saw your college thesis online. Your digital marketing strategies were brilliant. How would you like to turn their biggest weapon against them? For the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope. As Rebecca outlined her plan, I realized this wasn't just about cleaning houses, it was about cleaning house in my life. The mess I needed to remove wasn't on any floor. It was the toxic family who thought they could break me. Looking around at Rebecca's success, I saw my future. Sometimes rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation on which you build an empire. After giving birth to my daughter, Sophie, I turned maternity leave into my secret weapon. While Tom and his family assumed I was wasting time lounging with the baby, I was building my empire one keystroke at a time. You seem different, Patricia said during dinner one evening, her eyes narrowing. Awfully confident for someone who just changes diapers all day. If she only knew, between diaper changes, I was taking Rebecca's advanced marketing courses and landing my first client through her network, ironically, one of Emma's dissatisfied customers. Our campaign numbers are dropping again. Emma ranted during Sunday brunch. Some new agency is snatching up all our clients and no one will tell us who it is. I hid my smile behind my coffee cup. My agency, Phoenix Digital, was the mysterious rising star turning the industry on its head. Operating anonymously through Rebecca's office space, I was revolutionizing social media strategies while Emma's outdated methods crumbled. Something's different about you, Tom confronted me one evening. You're always on your phone, smiling at messages. Are you cheating? Just mommy blogs, I lied smoothly, while finalizing a six-figure deal with a major cosmetics brand, Emma's biggest client. The tension reached a boiling point during a family gathering when Emma burst into tears. This mystery agency, I found out who owns it. Her eyes met mine across the table, realization dawning. Shock flickered there, but shame kept her silent. Patricia, oblivious, patted Emma's hand. Don't worry, darling. Not everyone has your talent. Look at Sarah, perfectly content being a nobody. That night, Emma texted me. How long have you been doing this? I replied with a screenshot of Phoenix Digital's latest award-winning campaign, the same one Emma's team had been chasing, long enough to know my worth. The power dynamic shifted after that. Patricia's jabs about my unemployment fell flat as I quietly hired my 10th employee. Emma's boasts about her career dulled, knowing I now owned 40% of her former client list. You've changed, Tom accused one night. The old Sarah was sweeter, more manageable. I thought of the contract waiting in my inbox from a Fortune 500 company. The old Sarah was a butterfly waiting to emerge. Would you like to see what she's become? Rebecca, watching my transformation, smiled with pride. Ready to show them who you really are. Looking at my sleeping daughter, I smiled back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with a marketing strategy. So brilliant your enemies become case studies in what not to do. Tomorrow, Phoenix Digital would announce its CEO to the world. The Wilsons were about to learn the hard way that the woman they underestimated had become the woman they couldn't ignore. The Ford's Technology Conference became the stage for my greatest triumph and the beginning of my true happiness. As I stepped onto the stage to accept the Digital Innovator of the Year award, I locked eyes with Michael Chen, the keynote speaker. His gentle smile would soon change my life. Your Phoenix Digital campaign revolutionized the entire industry, he said later during the networking hour. I'd love to collaborate. That same week, Patricia barged into my office, uninvited. I always knew you had it in you, darling, she gushed, her voice dripping with fox pride. I pushed you to be better. This is practically my success, too. Before I could respond, Tom stormed in. As your husband, he declared, I have a right to half of this company. You built it while we were married. Rebecca emerged from her office, calm and poised. Actually, she said, holding a thick folder, she built this while documenting your family's systematic emotional abuse. How do you think a board of directors would feel about that evidence? Tom's face drained of color. The divorce papers were filed that very afternoon. Michael proved to be my unexpected strength through it all. You're not just surviving anymore, he said one evening, his hand warm over mine. You're thriving, and you deserve every bit of it. His family welcomed me like a long-lost daughter. Grace, his mother, showed me what maternal love truly felt like. In our family, she said one afternoon while showing me her treasured dumpling recipe, success is measured by happiness, not bank accounts. Emma's professional downfall came swiftly. The company's letting me go, she texted me one day. I guess you won. I never played to win, I replied. I played to become who I always was. My wedding to Michael was everything my first wasn't, filled with genuine joy, supportive family, and real love. Grace helped me choose my dress, tears shining in her eyes as she adjusted my veil. You're the daughter I always wanted, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. A year later, at a Chen family dinner, I announced my pregnancy. The room erupted in cheers and genuine celebration. Grace immediately began planning the baby shower, while Michael's sisters playfully bickered over who would host. Sitting in my corner office today, I glance at the family photo from last Christmas, framed on my desk. My phone buzzes with a text from Patricia. Darling, can't we put the past behind us? Family is family. I delete it without a second thought and pack up early. Tonight, Grace is teaching me her secret dumpling recipe. As I drive home, I reflect on how life comes full circle. I once cleaned houses for people who thought I was nothing. Now I run a company that's reshaping the digital landscape, married to a man who sees my light, and surrounded by a family who knows that love isn't about control. It's about letting people shine. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about revenge at all. It's about finding where you truly belong. What about you? Have you ever realized that the people belittling you were actually terrified of your potential? Would you expose them immediately, or would you silently build your empire while they underestimated you? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your stories about dealing with toxic family members. Did you confront them head-on, or did you play the long game? The most interesting part of my journey wasn't just proving them wrong. It was discovering that success is the best answer to toxicity. While they were busy mocking my lazy lifestyle, I was quietly building the foundation for their biggest business nightmare. Hi everyone, I'm Anna Jack, a 29-year-old interior designer running my own firm in Boston. And let me tell you, I've got a story you won't believe about how my mother-in-law tried to turn me into her personal servant, but ended up losing everything instead. It all started when I met James Parker. He was the lead architect on a downtown development project, and I was handling the interior design. Our professional partnership quickly blossomed into something more during coffee breaks and site visits. Your vision for these spaces is incredible, James told me during one of our early meetings. The way you balance functionality and aesthetics is exactly what we need. Everything felt like a dream until I met Patricia Parker, his mother. Patricia swept into one of our office meetings as if she owned the place. And technically, she did, being a prominent real estate mogul. Oh, so you're the designer James keeps mentioning, she said, giving my portfolio a once-over. Interesting choices. A bit modern for our typical clientele, don't you think? My business partner, Linda, spotted the red flags immediately. Over lunch the next day, she didn't hold back. Girl, did you catch that shade she threw at your portfolio? She basically dismissed your entire career in one sentence, Linda said, shaking her head. But I was already falling hard for James. His sister, Diana, seemed to sympathize during a family dinner, pulling me aside to whisper a warning. Anna, just so you know, Mom's particular about who joins the family. She had her heart set on James marrying Michael Collins. You know, the son of her country club bestie. Family dinners were a minefield. Patricia treated me like an amusing accessory, constantly suggesting ways I could help. Anna dear, she said one night, since you have such an eye for design, perhaps you could handle the table settings. It'll be good practice for entertaining. When James proposed 6 months later, I was thrilled, until we announced it at one of Patricia's elaborate family dinners. Oh, how wonderful, Patricia said, her smile tighter than her facelift. Though perhaps it's a bit soon. Anna, darling, you'll be taking time off work for the wedding, won't you? There's so much to do, and everything must be done properly for our circle. That night, I overheard her on the phone. Can you believe it, Margaret? After all my efforts to set him up with Michael's sister, now I have to deal with this. But don't worry, I have plans. When James noticed my upset face, he squeezed my hand. Don't worry about Mom, he said. She'll come around. Little did I know, Patricia's campaign to make my life miserable was just beginning. A wedding war. Planning our wedding became Patricia's power trip. Every weekend she issued commands like a general preparing for battle. These centerpieces are unacceptable, she declared. Start over. And while you're at it, organize the kitchen. Since you'll be joining the family soon, it's time you learn where everything belongs. I spent countless Sundays reorganizing her sprawling mansion while she entertained her friends, parading me around as if I were her new maid. Anna's so helpful around the house, she cooed to her guests. She's learning our ways, aren't you, dear? James, he just stood there, squirming uncomfortably. Mom's just traditional, he said later. Try to understand. The manipulation didn't stop there. Patricia began scheduling urgent family meetings, always during my client presentations. What do you mean you can't make it? She scolded over the phone. Family comes first, Anna. Or are you suggesting your little design projects matter more than your future family? Linda started noticing the fallout. Clients were backing out. Contracts mysteriously fell through. This is weird, she said, slamming her laptop shut after yet another cancellation. The Hendersons just pulled out. They said they got a call from a supposed former client who warned them about our unreliability. Diana eventually came to my office late one evening, her expression uneasy. Anna, she began hesitantly, you need to know something. Remember Jennifer, James' ex? Mom did the same thing to her. Jennifer had a thriving law career before she got involved with our family. Mom made sure she didn't keep it for long. It wasn't long before Patricia's web of lies and manipulations began to unravel. After Jennifer's story and Diana's quiet revelations, I started digging into Patricia's dealings. Linda and I worked late nights, poring over records, tracing mysterious calls, and connecting the dots. You won't believe this, Linda said one night, weaving a stack of papers. 3 other women before you, all successful, all driven away by your lovely mother-in-law. And get this, she's not the queen bee she pretends to be. Those properties she brags about, mortgaged to the hilt. She's one missed payment away from losing everything. The next family dinner was a show. Patricia commanded the table with her usual overbearing demeanor, oblivious to my growing arsenal of evidence. The wedding venue needs to be the Carlton, she declared. Nothing else is acceptable for our circle. I took a sip of wine, pretending to mull it over. Funny, I said lightly, I heard they're not taking new bookings. Something about an outstanding balance from Diana's graduation party. Her face turned as pale as the porcelain plates in front of us. James finally broke his silence. Mom, what's going on with the Carlton? Are we having money problems? Don't be ridiculous, Patricia snapped, recovering quickly. I'm simply being prudent with our assets, unlike some people who waste money on unnecessary things like designer furniture. Under the table, Diana slipped me her phone. The screen showed a series of desperate text messages from Patricia to the bank. She's trying to use your connections to save herself, Diana whispered later. That's why she wanted James to marry into Michael's family. She needs their money. Suddenly, everything clicked. Patricia wasn't just controlling, she was a desperate woman trying to salvage her crumbling empire. But her biggest mistake, underestimating me. The final blow, the breaking point came when Patricia announced her plans at yet another dinner. I've decided to sell the mansion, she said casually, as if it were no big deal. James, darling, I'll be moving into your new house. Anna can turn the guest room into my personal suite. She has such creative ideas. And Anna, she added, turning to me, about your business. It's time to consider what's really important. A proper wife in our circle doesn't work. You'll need to focus on family matters. The audacity took my breath away. That week, her lawyer ambushed us with a prenup. It's just standard, Patricia cooed. With a small addition, I'll oversee all joint assets to protect the family interests. But Patricia wasn't the only one playing chess. Linda handed me a USB drive during lunch. Your dear mother-in-law has been cooking the books for years, Linda said, a wicked grin on her face. Moving money between accounts, faking invoices, it's textbook embezzlement. Diana had more ammunition. She met me at a coffee shop, dropping a thick folder on the table. I've documented everything since I was 16, she said. The manipulation, the abuse, how she destroyed every woman who threatened her control. There's even a recording of her threatening James's first girlfriend. The piece de resistance came when Patricia demanded a private meeting in my office. I set up a hidden camera, and she delivered her usual performance. Let's be frank, Anna, she said, dripping with fake diamonds in desperation. Your business connections are impressive. I need them. Help me secure their investments, and maybe I'll let you keep your little design firm. And if I refuse? I asked, feigning innocence. Oh, darling, she purred. Accidents happen in business. Reputations are so fragile. The showdown. The final confrontation happened during yet another family dinner. This time, I came armed. You think you're clever, I said, standing up from the table. But I know everything about the embezzlement, the threats, the lies. You've been stealing and manipulating everyone around you. Patricia's face turned stormy. You have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, I think I do. I pulled out my phone and played her earlier confession. Her jaw dropped as her own voice echoed through the room. You recorded me, she hissed, her composure crumbling. Diana stepped forward, her own folder of evidence in hand. You've been controlling and betraying us for years. It ends now. Patricia's mask cracked completely. Fine, she spat. I needed Anna's connections. My empire is falling apart, and her client list could save everything. James stood beside me, his face pale but resolute. All these years, he said quietly, I thought you were protecting us. But you were just protecting yourself. Patricia lunged for my phone, but James blocked her path. It's over, Mother. Leave. As she stormed out, Diana whispered, The Queen is about to lose her crown. The aftermath. I called an emergency board meeting at Patricia's company. Armed with evidence that would dismantle Patricia's empire and reputation, I stood before the board, calm but resolute. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I began setting the thick folder of documents on the table. I believe you'll find these records enlightening. Your CEO has been embezzling funds for years. Here is proof of every fraudulent transaction. The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, and hurried whispers filled the air. As I laid out Patricia's crimes, the weight of her manipulations became undeniable. One by one, her former victims began to speak. She threatened to destroy my law career, Jennifer said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. And she succeeded. She tried to blackmail my family, Michael Collins added, glaring at Patricia. We're filing fraud charges for the fake investment scheme she ran. The dominoes fell fast. Patricia's once loyal allies turned their backs, and her wealthy friends scattered like rats abandoning a sinking ship. Did you hear about Patricia Parker? Whispers spread across every country club and gala, living beyond her means, cooking the books, threatening young women. I can't believe we ever associated with her. Margaret, her closest friend, denounced her publicly at a charity gala. Simply dreadful, she declared with a disdainful sniff. Even Diana finally broke free. I'm starting my own business, Mother, she announced, cold but triumphant. And no, I don't need your guidance. A new chapter. The wedding was everything I dreamed, small, intimate, and free of drama. A beachfront ceremony with close friends and family. Patricia was notably absent. To freedom, Diana toasted at the reception, raising her glass high. And to never letting anyone control us again, Linda added with a wink. James squeezed my hand, his voice soft. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. But I'm proud of you, for how you stood up to her, for how you've built this incredible life. After Patricia's influence evaporated, my design firm soared. The clients she had scared off returned in droves. Your work is exceptional, one of my biggest clients admitted sheepishly. We should have never listened to those false rumors. James and I partnered our firms, creating the city's leading architecture and design company. Another major contract, James announced one evening, waving a stack of signed papers. We're unstoppable together. The sweetest victory? We bought Patricia's foreclosed mansion at auction. When she found out, her fury was almost palpable. "You can't do this," she shrieked over the phone. "This is my family home." "Was your family home?" I corrected, my tone cool. "Now it's just another property you lost through your own actions." The last I heard, Patricia had moved into a small apartment across town. The galas, the social circle, and her iron grip on everyone's lives were gone. She called again. Diana mentioned during one of our weekly lunches. I blocked her number. James nodded. We all did. We completely renovated the mansion, erasing every trace of Patricia's influence. The room she once planned to claim as her suite, it's now my home office where I run my thriving business. Sometimes I can't believe how it all turned out, Linda said, sipping champagne during our housewarming party. From her trying to make you her maid to losing everything. Talk about justice. I looked around at my beautiful home, my successful business, and the loving family we had built. Without Patricia's toxic shadow looming over us, life felt brighter than ever. The best revenge isn't just winning, I told my gathered friends and family. It's thriving in exactly the ways they tried to prevent. James kissed my cheek, raising his glass. To new beginnings, the right way. As for Patricia, she became nothing more than a cautionary tale about how greed and cruelty can destroy even the most carefully crafted empire. Some say she still drives by the mansion occasionally, catching glimpses of the life she could have had. But we don't think about her anymore. We're too busy living our best lives. Hi, everyone. I'm Ava Parker, and this is the story of how my perfect life unraveled into a nightmare. You know those moments when you realize everything you've built is standing on quicksand? Mine came crashing down at my in-laws' Hampton estate. But let me start at the beginning. Darling, you really should let me handle the curtain selections for your new office. These choices are rather middle class. That was my mother-in-law, Victoria. Middle class was her favorite insult, reserved for anything I did. She dropped by my interior design studio unannounced, again, as I was putting the finishing touches on my latest project. The clients love my designs, Victoria. In fact, Henderson Industries just signed me to redesign their entire corporate office. How quaint. Speaking of proper priorities, you'll be seeing Dr. Reynolds tomorrow. I've already scheduled your first prenatal appointment. I froze. Adrian, my husband of 2 years, and I had just found out I was pregnant last week, only 8 weeks along. We were waiting for the right time to share the news. How did you? Oh, please, she interrupted, smiling like a cat with a canary. I've noticed you skipping wine at dinner. Dr. Reynolds has been our family doctor for generations. That evening, I called my mom, Sarah. As a nurse, she was always honest. Mom, is it normal for Victoria to be this involved? Honey, nothing about that woman is normal. Remember when she tried to uninvite your cousins from the wedding because their shoes were from Target? The next day, over coffee, my best friend Kate, who's a detective with a finely tuned radar for manipulation, was even more blunt. Girl, she's got her claws in everything. You've seen how she runs that charity foundation, right? Everyone's terrified of crossing her. As if that wasn't enough, Adrian's twin sister, Angela, made things worse. At family dinner, when we finally shared the pregnancy news, her fork clattered loudly against her plate. Well, isn't that just perfect? Some people have all the luck, don't they? Her bitterness was palpable. I caught Victoria and Angela exchanging a look across the table. Something about it felt off. Adrian squeezed my hand under the table. Ignore them, babe. They're just surprised. But the surprises kept coming. Victoria started showing up at my studio daily, rearranging my schedule for proper prenatal care. She insisted on accompanying me to every appointment with Dr. Reynolds. It's family tradition, she'd say with that icy, unrelenting smile. We take care of our own. Looking back, I should have paid more attention. The way Victoria hovered over every decision, how Angela's eyes followed me like a hawk, and those hushed conversations that abruptly ended whenever I walked into the room. But they were family, and family wouldn't hurt you, right? The Hampton estate was picture perfect that Saturday, gleaming with crystal and white roses. Victoria had spared no expense for her garden tea party. Such a lovely afternoon to celebrate our growing family, she announced, handing me a cup of tea with a peculiar gleam in her eye. This blend is specially crafted for expectant mothers, she added. I'd noticed her preparing the teas separately in the kitchen earlier, measuring out different amounts for different cups. I hadn't thought much of it then. That's what haunts me now. I should have said something. The cramps started midway through the second round of potato fours. At first, they were small, like period pain. Then they intensified quickly, sharp and relentless. I excused myself, trying to mask the cold sweat breaking across my forehead. Halfway up the grand staircase, I heard voices from the study. The door was slightly ajar. This will solve both our problems, Victoria's voice said, smooth and calculated. The foundation's secrets stay safe, and you'll finally give this family its first grandchild. Angela's reply was a murmur, but the meaning was clear. My blood ran cold. The cramping took on a horrible new meaning, barely making it to the bathroom. Before the pain fully took over, I heard the sound that sealed my fate, the click of a lock from outside the bathroom. Victoria? Angela? Something's wrong. I need help. My voice was desperate, my body trembling as the cramping worsened. Don't be so dramatic, dear, Victoria replied coolly from the other side. Every pregnancy has its discomforts. Please, I gasped, clutching the counter as I felt warm blood soaking through my dress. I'm bleeding. Family matters stay private, Ava. We wouldn't want to embarrass ourselves in front of our guests, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. You should not call your mother. The pain became unbearable. My phone had no signal. Of course, Victoria had chosen this bathroom, the one dead zone in the mansion. But thank God for my smartwatch. With shaking hands, I managed to send my location to Kate with a code 9911 and the word baby. She'd understand. Another wave of agony tore through me, and I screamed. The sound was drowned out by the classical music someone had turned up downstairs. Stop making such a fuss, Angela called through the door, her voice cold and unyielding. This is for the best. Through tears, my eyes landed on the cup of tea Victoria had handed me earlier. I brought it with me to the bathroom, setting it on the counter. Wrapping it carefully in my blood-stained dress, I tucked it into my purse. Then, I grabbed the hand towel I used to wipe my mouth earlier. Evidence. Kate had always said, preserve the evidence, no matter what. The next hour was a haze of agony. I barely registered the sound of sirens in the distance. Victoria's voice was sharp and indignant. Officers, this is a private family matter. Then, like a lifeline, I heard my mom. Where is my daughter? When they finally broke down the door, it was too late for my baby. But as the paramedics lifted me onto the stretcher, I saw Kate in the doorway, her camera flashing as she documented the scene. She held up the bloody towel and teacup with gloved hands. Mrs. Kingston, she addressed Victoria icily. I suggest you and your daughter don't leave town. Through the fog of pain and grief, I caught a glimpse of Victoria's face. The mask of control had cracked, and for the first time she looked truly terrified. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 months living at my mom's house gave me time to grieve and plan. Adrian kept calling, begging me to come home. Baby, please, Mom feels terrible about what happened. She thought you were just having normal pregnancy symptoms. Like how locking me in a bathroom was normal, or how choosing our doctor was normal. Adrian had no answer, but I did. Working from my laptop, I dug into the Charity Foundation's records. Victoria had given me access months ago, likely assuming I was too middle class to understand financial documents. She underestimated me. Kate, look at this, I said one night, sliding my laptop across the kitchen table. The foundation paid $500,000 for emergency structural repairs to a building they don't even own. Kate whistled. And these contractors? They don't exist. This is money laundering 101. The hospital toxicology report arrived next. Kate spread the papers out in front of me. The tea contained misoprostol, she said grimly. It's used for medical abortions. And get this, only your cup tested positive. The others were clean. Victoria's obsession with control was her undoing. Security footage from her smart home system showed her in the kitchen that day, measuring something into my cup separately. Then came Dr. Reynolds' records, years of monthly payments from the Foundation for Consulting Services. Your perfect family doctor was on Victoria's payroll, Kate said. He knew exactly what that tea would do. The final blow came when Angela showed up at my mom's door, mascara streaked down her cheeks. "I can't sleep," she sobbed. "I keep hearing you scream." She spilled everything. The foundation's fake charities, Victoria's panic over my pregnancy, threatening her empire, and a plan to end it all. "I was so jealous of your pregnancy," Angela admitted, trembling. "I went along with it. I'm so sorry." Her signed confession was the nail in the coffin. I laid everything out for Adrian: the fraud, the toxicology reports, Angela's confession, and finally, the security footage showing his mother poisoning me. His hands shook as he stared at the evidence. "She always said everything she did was for the family. I thought," his voice broke, "I thought she meant protecting us." "She meant protecting her criminal empire," I said. "What are you going to do?" I picked up my briefcase, now packed with evidence. "I already did it. The FBI has everything. The next move is theirs." The raid came at Victoria's most prized event, the annual charity gala. Under the glittering chandeliers surrounded by the elite of society, the annual Kingston Foundation Gala was Victoria's crowning achievement, a glittering affair where Manhattan's elite patted themselves on the back for their generosity. It was meant to showcase her power and influence. Too bad the FBI had other plans. "FBI, everyone stay where you are." The agent stormed in mid-sentence, interrupting Victoria's carefully rehearsed welcome speech. The room froze and all eyes turned to the stage. The look on her face, priceless. Her perfect mask shattered as an agent stepped forward. "Victoria Kingston, you're under arrest for money laundering and aggravated assault." "This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" Victoria snapped, but her voice wavered as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. The society pages had a field day the next morning. Kingston Foundation, charity or criminal enterprise? Socialite grandmother to be charged in forced miscarriage plot. Her precious reputation, built over decades, was obliterated overnight. Dr. Reynolds broke first, striking a plea deal to reduce his sentence. Mrs. Kingston provided the drugs and instructed me to approve their use. She said it was a family matter. His medical license was revoked within hours of his confession. Adrian, shattered and guilt-ridden, came to my office with divorce papers in hand. "I'm not contesting anything, Ava. Take whatever you want." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you." I signed without hesitation. Victoria's trial was swift. Multiple counts of money laundering, aggravated assault, and conspiracy sealed her fate. Standing in court in a designer suit that looked wildly out of place with handcuffs, she listened as the judge condemned her actions. "The court recognizes the particularly heinous nature of using medical assault to conceal financial crimes," the judge declared before delivering a lengthy sentence. Angela sent a letter from the therapy retreat she checked into. "I'm getting help. Real help. I'll spend my life trying to make amends for what I did. I hope someday you can forgive me." I used the divorce settlement to expand my design business internationally, opening offices in London and Dubai. It turned out Victoria's society connections weren't the only path to success. My work spoke for itself. 1 year later, I stood on a stage accepting the International Design Innovation Award. The moment felt surreal, a lifetime away from the woman I'd been during those dark days. The news ticker below the stage caught my eye. Kingston Foundation appeal denied. Assets permanently seized. Congratulations on the award. I turned to find a handsome stranger holding 2 champagne glasses. "I'm Marcus," he said, offering me one. "I love how you incorporated sustainable materials in the Henderson project." He knew my work, not my scandal. His smile reached his eyes, genuine and warm. "Would you like to discuss design over dinner?" For the first time in forever, I felt light, free. "Yes," I said, smiling. Victoria thought she was writing my tragedy, but instead she handed me the pen to write my own story. One where the villain falls, justice wins, and the heroine doesn't just survive, she thrives. Looking back, I've realized something. When you try to bury someone, you'd better make sure they're not a seed. Because we grow back stronger, and we bloom. What about you? What would you have done if you discovered your mother-in-law wasn't just toxic, but criminally dangerous? Would you have quietly gathered evidence like I did or confronted her immediately? Think about it. Victoria thought she was protecting her empire, but her actions destroyed everything she built. Sometimes the worst betrayals come from people who claim they're acting for the family. And here's another thought. Angela chose to come clean and seek redemption, while Victoria refused to acknowledge her crimes to the bitter end. At what point do you stop forgiving family members who keep hurting you? Share your thoughts in the comments below.